Okay, it looks like we're live. I'm just going to wait a bit here. Make sure it's working. The video looks good. Can you guys hear me okay? I see that there are people watching. How many people do we have? Just a couple. You hear Brian noises. Can you not hear me very well? Or are you being funny? All right, cool. Hey, Wikipedia snippet. Spambot. Duck, formerly known as Censor. What am I drawing? Well, I don't know. I have a couple of things I'm trying to decide on. I'm just doodling. Let me go ahead and put the lead on here. So, one, I was thinking about drawing a dark elf mage because this Sunday is our game and there is a dark elf mage in the game. He's like the main antagonist of this adventure. So I was thinking about drawing his face, like a bust or something, maybe. But then I also just watched Infinity War night before last, and kind of want to draw Thanos. So I'm like trying to decide between the two. I think I'm gonna start with the Dark Elf. Yeah, Drow. Dark Elf. I like calling them Dark Elves. Let's see. Just this. I don't know what it's gonna look like, so I'm kind of working it out as I go. Meanwhile, my wife is here. She's making a Mother's Day card, which is a watercolor painting for her mom. Do you know? Have you figured out what you're gonna draw yet? Or paint, rather?
I think I'm gonna paint water lilies. Maybe a tiger.
Is it one of those trans water lilies that we did a
Trans water lilies?
yeah, we did a show on the feminist water lily and how it's like breaking gender roles.
No, not one of those.
No? Azdaja. Hello, Doge. Hey, what's up? I remember the episode of Community where they mistook a drow for blackface. Yes, I remember that. Who was dressed up as a drow? Who was that? I forget. I saw that a long time ago, so it's hard for me to remember. Okay, let's see here. Any of you guys watch Infinity War yet? I mean, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. I'm just curious. Hey, oh, Ruben. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I think I'm gonna move some things around here. I hate tangents. I haven't, not into superhero movies personally. Yeah, I figured. I mean, people get burned out. I'm not one of those people, but people do get burned out. And it's fair enough. Hmm.
I think I'm just gonna be boring paintballers.
Do it. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3. And this. All right. I just got the player's handbook for 5th Dungeons and Dragons. What made you decide to buy that? I have the 5th edition player's handbook too, but I'm just curious. Hmm. Are you using stylus or a mouse? No way am I drawing with a mouse like this. I'm using a Cintiq. It's a screen with a stylus I can draw right onto. Let me do this over. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the hand. I like the way it turned. Some of it looks, but I don't like a lot of the other stuff. Let me think here. Dirty Dozen watching. Oh, so there's 13 people? Yeah, 13. I'll take it. All right, let's try this another way. Quiet dog. Is that the dog? He hears noises and he like loses his shit. Okay.
Oh man, I didn't bring an eraser. That's dumb.
A lot. Let's see. Are you? Found it on the internet for free. Planning to buy the physical book when I get a job. Have to support them, right? Yeah. Definitely. I mean, if you can, you know, maybe you can get. If you get a game going though, maybe you don't. You know, you just get your friends who have jobs to buy it. Looks like an elf is probably gay. He's a drow, so Doesn't that mean he's like all about supporting the women's, since the drow societies are matriarchal? Oh, I got it. If I were a male drow, I'd hope to be gay. They probably have it. It's probably illegal in drow society. I wouldn't mind women taking up the provider role. Yeah, maybe. All right, just a moment here. I gotta think this through. Hmm. Let's see. Zoom here. Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm gonna have him show a little bit more skin. Let's see. Dwarf Master Race. Ruben Flora has been role-playing with my friends through this app called Anemo for 3 years. It's mostly shipping, some angst, and hardly any action with Pokemon OCs. Cringe, I know. I'm craving action and adventure. That's like, I don't know. That seems to be what a lot of people from the younger generations did when it came to like role-playing online. Is they go to like these message boards and just pretend to be other people, and they would end up doing cyber and shit like that. I never, because I'm just too old. I never did that when I was in doing the RPG thing. I just ran it with people that were my friends, and I'm gonna draw his body before I put clothes on it, huh? I would run it for my friends, and you know, we would just do adventures, level up, you know, get loot, the usual stuff.
Well, you didn't miss out on much.
I'm sure I haven't. All right. Guess I'll. There's a robe there. Hmm. Censor Doc says, I totally don't do that. That would be cringy. But he does so with an air of self-awareness, admitting that he indeed does do that. I'm not saying it's cringy because I'm not, you know, I'm not a part of it. I'm not close enough to it. Maybe he's got an amulet with a spider on it.
Oh, that would make sense.
What?
An amulet with a spider on it?
Yeah.
Did you read those books?
No. Are you talking about the Dritz books?
Yeah, Dritz.
No, I never read those. But I am indeed aware of. I know a little bit about the Drow societies from being a game master and stuff.
Yeah.
But I never read the books. No. I did a Pokemon themed roleplay series with some friends at a university a few years back, and we went quite dark with the story. Oh.
You know if you're supposed to do any shading in like watercolor? Probably not, eh?
Shading. What do you mean?
Just to like remember what the values are for your watercolor, but you don't want any pencil in your watercolor, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it with pencil. You have to do it with the paint itself.
I'm gonna forget it.
But I totally know that people do that for sure.
I don't want my pencil to show up though. I have a hard enough time with my pencil to begin with, like just doing lines.
Yeah.
I hate when it shows up. But I also like knowing what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So I'm doing two paintings for one, and I'm just layering them at the same time. I know, I'm a genius.
You're doing what? 2 paintings at once?
At once, I'm just like doing each layer. Like I'm doing yellow and then orange and then red, like on each, you know what I mean?
Oh. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's efficient. We have a lot to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it.
Well, I might not finish these today, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you'll still have tomorrow to finish.
I'll even have Monday. Basically just doing it until like, you know, I'm sick of it, and then I'll do some more tomorrow and then maybe some more on Monday.
That reminds me, I have to reach out to someone for a fireside chat on Monday. But I have some candidates, so my OCs used to fall in a lot of beginner's traps like good modding, unintentional sociopathic tendencies, overall bad writing. Well, you know, I do wonder how various fantasy races would view homosexuality. I guess that would depend on the cultures and whether or not there's sexual pressure, I would guess. So, like, for example, the races that have either live under the most savage conditions where mortality rate is really high, or the ones that have really short lifespans, like they just don't live very long, they probably have more pressure not to essentially be against homosexuality, since it is a genetic dead end, right? Or if they are okay with it, they are okay with it under the idea that, you know, there will be mandates to impregnate women, whether you're gay or straight, so that the race can continue to survive. But my guess would be, and races that are really, really long lived and are not in danger of running out of women because they don't die as often, probably are way more, what is it? Probably are way more liberal about homosexuality, like open to it. Whereas the ones that are really short lived and, you know, they live in like kind of a savage culture or something are probably less likely. So there probably aren't that many gay half orcs, because half orcs don't live very long, and orcs, if they live in orc societies anyway, orcs need, you know, every able-bodied person to make more orcs, because that's what they care about. Whereas elves, they live a long time and they usually live in peaceful conditions. They probably have a lot more homos. So I mean, I'm guessing that the stereotype of elves being gay is not completely unfounded. That would be my guess. Does that make sense? Yeah, or there's more bisexuality, but same shit, yeah. Not saying that bisexuality is the same as homosexuality. My point is the same. All right, so I got a basic idea. Let me see if I can enhance it a bit. Could be.
Oh man, this is harder than I thought it would be.
What do you mean?
Having problems drawing dogs. I've never had a problem drawing dogs. Drugs.
Oh, it's so wrong. Even elves would enforce male X female breeding. There'd probably be general social pressure to do it, but elves probably don't have that many kids because they live so long. Like, you know, when you live to be 1,000, 2,000 years old, you're not worried about, like, what's the elven female biological clock like when you live to be 1,000?
God damn it.
What is it?
I'm just having a hell of a time with this. I don't know why. I think it's like, it's proportions and it's like how big I want him in the picture.
Yeah. Are you drawing the dog?
Yeah.
Oh. Thinking of DMing for the first time, anything I should do? That's a big question. Be ready for the story you come up with to get completely derailed. Don't commit to something that's too linear, because the players will always throw you off. That's extremely important. Be prepared at all times for things to go like not how you expected, because that's just the nature of the beast. That's one for sure. But you know what? There's a good little book I got. Maybe you can find it online. It's kind of old. It's called Robin's Laws of Good Game Mastering. Somebody, I picked it up because it was like available for nothing at the time. Turned out that a lot of the stuff that was in there I was already doing, but it's pretty handy. You know, as a GM, just remember that not you're not the enemy of the players. You're the facilitator of their experience. A good GM is basically like understands that he's cooperating with them to tell a story. And good players, there's such a thing as good player etiquette too, obviously, you know, towards their GM. Sometimes players can sense. I know I can. You know, like I don't get to play very often because usually I'm running a game. But I can sense when the GM has like plans that he wants to see happen. And so I will try to, you know, go along with them if it comes up. And also, we want to make sure that your players feel like, you know, fearless. Because if you, like, I know that there's game masters that want to put the fear of everything into the players. There is a side effect of doing that, though. And that is that players don't want to take risks. And when they don't want to take risks, then you're going to have a hard fucking time getting them to do the stuff that you want them to do. Does that make sense? Oh, shit. All right, just a second here. I'm just... Impressive eyebrows. Well, some people draw that when they do the elves, they try to make them look almost like Vulcans, or, you know, like where they're only slightly different from humans, like, you know, finer features somewhat, and then they'll do like, you know, pointy ears, but they're like human sized, and maybe their eyebrows have a bit of an arch to them. You know, I think that I want to like push it like as far as I can. I want people to look at elves and not mistake them for humans that are a little bit prettier, you know. I want them to be like, okay, that's not a person. Like dwarves, I do the same thing. You know, I exaggerate. I push it. I have more fun with that. I think that makes for, in my opinion anyway, it makes for a stronger design. So that's what I go for. So yeah, I do the knife ears and I go all out. Sorry, these lines are so fucking shit. It's the one thing about drawing on a Cintiq. I don't know. It's like the screen is really small and I don't want to back off too far away. I better do that though so I can see. I need to get into RPGing. There are online things people do. I prefer dwarves that take a more Middle Eastern look. Yeah. I stick to the theory that dwarves are almost like they're mountain Jews. Even like, I think that, even the way that Tolkien named them in his books, like, I think he was taking from, you know, kind of a Aramaic or Arabic, like, sounding language. Maybe even Yiddish. So they get their gold from the shekel mines. All right, let me just change that because that doesn't look right.
Oh, damn it.
What is it?
I'm having a really hard time. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Maybe I should have done something more like that.
Should have what? You can always...
Well, I think I might have chose the wrong picture to do. Because, like, I'm doing them from, like, a side profile, and I'm like, well, why, though?
I don't know.
But why, though?
Good question. Uh-oh. I moved it. Somehow. It was a weird accident.
I want this one to be a bit more, like,
What?
I want this one to be more, like, colorful and kind of, like, you know, like, the shirt I got?
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily, like, realistic. And yet
You
I'm
should.
Like, treating it like it's super realistic.
Yeah, just
relax.
Just relax, exactly. Just let it go.
I still want it to look like him, though, you know?
It will. You can always... That's the thing, too, is, like, maybe just always go from the general to the specific. And this is, like, really hard to do. Because the temptation to focus on detail is so strong. It really is. It's overpowering. Okay. What was that? Oh, that was a coffee maker.
Yeah, were you done?
Am I what?
Did you have your coffee?
Yeah, I had it all. So nobody here has seen Infinity War, huh? I want to nerd out on it a little bit. But I can't.
That movie's way too easy to spoil.
Yeah. I just can't. So we won't talk about that. How about... Did you guys know that I've been doing God of War streams, right? And this is actually kind of like what I expected, what I'm about to tell you. I saw this morning a Polygon article where they interviewed one of the lead developers on God of War, on the new one. And I swear to fuck... You know what? Let me find it. Hold on a second. I'm going to pause this for a second. Let me look this up. Polygon God of War interview. God of War. Oh, yeah, here we go. I was just going to grab this link too. God of War's director on toxic masculinity and why Kratos had to change. And so,
What?
yes.
Really?
Yes. They asked him, playing the game, this is Polygon. Playing the game, I kept thinking of the ongoing conversation on how we raise sons to not be utter garbage humans. This was literally printed unironically. How do we not intentionally or inadvertently teach them toxic masculine behavior? I'm curious, what conversations were you having in the office while you were putting together this story and the relationship between Kratos and Atreus? And this guy goes on to talk about how, you know, as he got older, you know, he got away from, I don't know, like the old way that, because the old way that Kratos used to be. Like they open up this article by essentially saying this new God of War is the first entry in the core series to not feature a sex scene. Because, you know, in the other God of War's games, if you guys have ever played them, there are bits where there's like mini games where you go in and you have sex with women. I think in God, I don't know that they all had it, but I guess they did. I can't remember. I know that in God of War 3 you have sex with Athena or Aphrodite, and you can go for, you know, as many rounds as you want, and then before you like leave, and it's all mini games and stuff. So I had a feeling that when I was playing the game, I was wondering if they were going to, if that was what their point was, if they were trying to do this whole, you know, Kratos before was a monster, but now he's a whole man because of his son. And while I like that there is a father-son dynamic in the gameplay, and I'm going to finish the game because the game is good just on its own merit, right? I was worried that basically it was going to be one of these things. And again, you know, not a deal breaker. Game is still good. But I was concerned it was going to be one of these things where the way Kratos is not good, like objectively, according to the, you know, the writers or whatever. And how Atreus changes him from meeting his mom is good.
That's exactly why I don't like Logan.
Yeah.
Because Logan's not good. It's the girl that makes him good, right?
Yeah.
And teaches him family, even though he already knew that. That's exactly.
Yeah, even though that was the plot of the first fucking X-Men movie.
That's exactly why I hate that movie. People can still fight me.
My wife did not like the Logan movie. I get it. I'm not a huge fan of it either. All right, let's see.
Like, I can understand the appeal of it not being like other superhero movies. Like, it's like taking a different, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that to some degree.
Appreciate. Oh, I see what that's wrong. I don't know. My thing with, without going on too much of a tangent, my thing with the Logan movie was that it just wasn't didn't feel like a Wolverine movie. It felt like an art house film that had a guy with superpowers in it. Like, it was like a superhero movie for people who don't like superhero movies, that want their movies to be taken seriously. They want their properties to be taken seriously. It's like the Dark Knight trilogy fanboys. You know? And I'm of the opinion that you don't need people to like what you like. Just like it. I like the Logan movie, though it was flawed. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I didn't hate it.
It's
Like,
not fine, you suck. I'm just kidding.
she didn't like it at all. But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't buy it on Blu-ray because I wouldn't watch it again. Even if I liked it, I wouldn't watch it again. It's just one of those like, okay, I saw that. And then of course, the premise is kind of stupid. Like, for whatever reason, Logan has to learn about, you know, the beauty of family from a little girl, because girls always enlighten men for some fucking reason. And the thing that doesn't make sense about that is that Wolverine already learned that lesson in the first X-Men movie. That was basically his development, his growth. And in X-Men 2, you could say, you know, it was like carried on. You could see it in how much he cared about the kids. So like, why would we need to revisit that as an idea when we've already done that? Nah, that doesn't look good.
Alright, I'm doing it now.
Do it.
Doing it. Or should I just wait until tomorrow?
I don't know. What time is it? 10:52?
I start cleaning.
It's up to you.
Yeah, let me see what you're doing. Ugh. Nice.
It's okay. It's got its issues. No, what am I doing? That's not good. He's blushing. I like to liken it to men starting out as wolves and women wanting to make dogs out of them.
Huh.
Okay. Hey, let's make an X-Men version of the film Cowboys. What? No, I don't think it'll be ham-fisted if we put a 2-minute scene explaining the plot of the Cowboys. I'm waiting for Deadpool. I'm sure Deadpool 2 will be good. I like the original Deadpool just fine. What I saw like a thing where they had this roundtable discussion on IGN around Infinity War, and there was so much cynical butthurt around it. They were so cynical. And I was like, you guys, can you just enjoy something? You know, it's like they want it to be like some kind of art house movie. Why? Why do people insist that like something that was clearly made to be enjoyed with a fucking bucket of popcorn has to like change the world? And I think that's what that SJW mentality, that everything that we do, we have a responsibility to do it a certain way. And if we don't do it that way, we're not making the world better. So therefore, even if it's entertaining and fun, it's worthless and it's trash. And they're the ones that are the worst at doing that shit, too. The worst. Too many jokes in Deadpool. Well, isn't that the point of those movies?
That's what Deadpool is. It's like a series of jokes.
I thought Thanos was perfectly acted. He was great.
Yeah, he was.
I was really worried. I mean, I like Josh Brolin, but my concern was they had been building him up since Avengers 1. And when I thought, well, what if they do it and he just doesn't live up to the hype? But he absolutely exceeded my expectations. And there were some... So, Censor Duck, you've seen the movie, huh? There was one character that showed up in that movie that fucking blew my motherfucking mind. I'm not going to spoil it, but I was like so happy when I saw it. I thought it was fucking cool as shit. One, two, three. Okay, so I'm gonna make this line a bit thicker. Yeah. I was fucking, oh man, I thought it was awesome. One, two, three. Give him some nails. Because, can you hint me? Because I'm not sure who you're talking about. How do I do it without spoiling anything? Thanos goes to a planet looking for one of the stones. And there's someone waiting for him there. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say about that. Maybe then you'll remember.
Oh, shit.
I mostly fangasm over Captain America. Oh, just him showing up with him and his beard? Captain America beard? Infinity War was a very difficult movie to translate into film. The brothers did a job, I hear, making it work. The Russo brothers are just give them all the awards. Let them direct all the movies. I mean, James Gunn can direct movies too, because Guardians is the shit. But basically, yeah, the Russo brothers knocked it out of the park. I mean, and they managed it. Hipster cap. No, that wasn't a bitch beard. That was a fucking man beard. He was rocking a man beard. It was more man beard than Thor's man beard. Even Thor had to acknowledge it. Chris Evans, I think, might have been taking some testosterone supplements. Mm-hmm. I kid. Being authoritarian is too mainstream. Yeah. I think the Russo brothers, like, they seem to be pretty politically moderate. At least, well, let's put it this way. They don't appear to be progressive, because I don't see a lot of that in their movies. They did, so far, for the Marvel movies, they've done Winter Soldier, Civil War, and now Infinity War. And they were pretty fair to everybody. They didn't do any identity politics bullshit that I'm aware of. I mean, you know, Black Widow had to be in the movies, but they didn't they made her a lot less, she wasn't annoying at all, to be honest. Not on their films. I found her more annoying in Joss Whedon's Avengers movies. And I think it's, I think there's an obvious reason for that, but. Well, that was okay, but sometimes you just got to draw the line over and over and over until you get it right. I think they're just able to put politics to the side. Yeah, but at the same, but here's the thing though. What was Captain America's, in his movies, what was his central point? If you had to decide where does Captain America sit politically when it comes to certain things? And then okay, where does he sit and how well do they do that? And you'd almost have to be able to understand that point of view well enough, which I think is libertarian. You'd have to be able to understand that point of view well enough to be able to represent it fairly. And you know that progressives do not like libertarianism, right? Like, they have made, when I think it was when Civil War came out. Yeah, he's the ultimate libertarian, right? When Civil War came out, there were articles written on progressive sites about how, you know, Cap is being made into a douchey libertarian, and that they didn't like that. The Russo brothers made him the hero of their story, and they made him a libertarian. I think that says a lot. He's a classical liberal. He's a classical liberalist-tarian. That's what he is. Cap is a classical liberalist-tarian.
What?
Those are my thoughts. Oh shit. God damn it. Ever thought of making a barbarian who enters rage when he hears progressive talk? That's Karen. She's the rant zerker. Coco animates. I love art too. Well, welcome, Coco. Just need to look up something. Doge, what is your favorite D&D class? I mean, I'll be. You know what? Okay. Honestly, that's a tough one, but it depends on the game master and how good the system is. Typically, I like paladins, and I'll tell you why I like paladins. I like paladins because, at least when I used to play, paladin classes were the ones that nobody else wanted to play. Because they liked the idea, they did not like the idea of having to be virtuous all the time. And they thought that it was like unrealistic. But really what it was the players didn't like the idea that they couldn't be unscrupulous whenever they thought it was convenient for them. And I liked the idea of playing a paladin because it was more challenging. Or at least I thought it would be more challenging to always do the right thing no matter what the temptation was not to. Okay? So I like paladins, but if the system I'm playing in has a good game master and they're gonna like let me do it, monks are my favorite class. But it depends though, because some monks in some editions suck, and some game masters are not they're not very cool with monks. They don't understand it. They don't get the aesthetic. You know, they don't watch enough kung fu movies or something like that. So monks are my favorite because they I think allow me to be creative because I love martial arts movies. But if I can't do a monk, then I'll play a paladin. And I'll usually play a virtuous monk too. So I don't get to play D&D most of the time. When I'm in a D&D game, I'm running the game because nobody else wants to do it. And maybe for good reason, because like it's not easy to be a good GM. So but I was in a game once, and the guy who ran the game, he was very experienced. He was also an actor. So, you know, he was really like into the role-playing part. And he would like get into doing it himself. He would do voices and everything. Potentially could have been really great. All right, I'll continue my story in a second. I had some questions here. I'm left-handed. Oh, lol. Why don't people like paladins? They're freaking amazing in combat. I think it's because of the law. Well, see, that used to be that you had to be lawful good to be a paladin. And you had to, like, abide by a code. You know, so people didn't like that. So I like the idea of monks or druids. Well, I was just about to tell you a little something about that. Blackguards would be interesting to play. Yeah, I think they really make great villains. Is this Paint Tool Psi? Yes, it is. What microphone do you use? This is a Zoom H6 microphone. Sorry, I just imagine a priest, but with a mace or something. Are monks more like martial artists? Yeah, yeah. When we say monks, we're talking about ascetics, like Shaolin monks, not write the Bible all day and all night monks. And like get your songs, you know, sampled for Enigma. It's not that. Well, you could abide by a code that's shit. I think it can make more fun, though, if you do. Monks can use their hands, staffs, throwing weapons, etc. Then they can specialize in hand-to-hand or even get to some mage spells. Yeah, it depends on the system. Like, there have been different ones. You know, like, I tried a monk in almost every system. And when I'm able to, either as a player or I made it as an NPC. And I like them overall. Actually, the baddest character, like one of my favorite characters I ever made, and it was a shame because I only got to play him a few times, was when I was actually playing the 4th edition, which I know is the bastard child of D&D editions. But hear me out. My 4th edition monk was a Dragonborn monk. Tell me that's not fucking badass. And he was awesome. I mean, I had so much fun. When players, when game masters allow you to be creative and they try to like, you know, even if they that doesn't mean give you shit or like let you do whatever you want. But if you want to try something that's a bit risky, and they say, okay, you can under these conditions, and they don't just let you walk all over them, but they consider, you know, you work with them, and usually you can find GMs that are, you know, pretty open. You can have a lot of fun, and my monk was the shit. Like, I mean, he was fucking cool. And I like that they finally, in the 4th edition, they finally found like a place for monks to be, like where they sat, because before that it was like, are these guys do they do a lot of damage? Not really. Like some of the other guys do more. You know, they can at higher levels, but it's not, by that time other players have like magic weapons and all this, and you know, you're still fighting with your fists. Are they defense guys? Not really, right? They're not tanks because they don't wear armor. And while they can be harder to hit without it, a guy that's wearing like a full set of magic armor is going to be way better at tanking, and they'll have more hit points. Are they healers? No, not really. They're not really good support characters. Are they like rogues? No, not really, because they don't have like all the skills that you need for that. They're kind of like this. They're kind of a hybrid of a bunch of stuff. And I think that where the monks used to shine the most was when you were in a situation where you had no access to any of your gear. That's when the monks were the shine the most, because they didn't need gear. But that's not going to happen all the time. Like, you can't always take, you know, throw characters in the dungeon and take their shit away just so the monk can shine. That doesn't make sense, because you're screwing over everybody else over. So when they finally made the 4th edition, they said, okay, monks will be strikers, and strikers are basically DPS characters. They do damage. That's their job. And so the abilities they had made them, it gave you a clear role. And I like that a lot, that I had a clear role for every class. So when the 5th edition came out, they kind of like, even though the rules changed and they're way better, they still stuck with that idea that, okay, monks are damage dealers with a little bit of rogue stuff and some of their own thing. This is how we're going to do it. And I thought, that is great. Christian martial artist monks, lol. It could work for Christianity in some ways. Yeah, sure. But there's no Christianity in D&D. The gods are like, you know, what do you call it when there's like multiple gods? I mean, it's a pantheon, but they have another word for it. Polytheistic, I think. So you just find like, you know, one that fits. But I just make my dude from the East or a whole other race. Who's to say they don't have like something like a hand-to-hand martial art, like a barehanded style or of some kind. Or you just make them Eastern and say fuck it. do monks follow a god, or are they more esoteric? It depends on the setting. So, in I believe in the Forgotten Realms setting, which is the setting I tend to run, there are multiple sects, some of which actually revere a deity, because the deities are real. So, it's not, you can just be like, well, I don't think that they're real. Like, they actually are real. Some of which do that, and then some who just, they more so like follow a philosophy. Yeah, polytheistic. Thank you. Monks are the medieval nerds, study and meditate all the time. Monks can hit without a weapon. Yeah, they don't need weapons. But, anyway, that's getting away from what I was getting at. Monk's my favorite class because I'm a martial arts nerd. Like, I like kung fu movies and shit. That's the main reason, to be honest. But paladins are cool too. And I have played wizards, clerics. I make a really good cleric. That's another one I end up playing, and mainly it's because nobody else wants to do it. Because I don't, being the healer is I get it. Like, there are people who don't want to do it because they want the glory. They want to be the guy who killed the monster. And clerics, I guess they don't believe that that's what they can do, even though they totally can. But I think that a lot of times with more experienced players, it's not even that. It's the responsibility. Like, it's knowing that if you don't do your job and people start dying, it's your fault. And some people don't want that responsibility. So, I was telling you guys a story about a game I was in. What is this? Monks, I gotta love Quivering Palm. Yeah. Quivering Palm is totally the shit.
お前はもう死んでいる。
Supporting class can be difficult to play. Yeah. More like Knights Templar, but they have priest spells. Are you talking about paladins? Anyway, so I was in this game. And the GM was like an experienced actor and director. And he wanted to try something new. This was the 3.5. This was a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, actually. And he wanted to do something different. He wanted to try and run a game where all the characters were evil. And he called it the Evil Game. And we're all like, everybody's talking about what they want to play as, right? So he's telling us what he likes to do with it in his games and how he likes to run them. And in his mind, when he was running his game, excuse me, he thought that things like treasure and loot and gold, rewards basically, they should be extremely rare, very, very few and far between. He was kind of miserly with rewarding. When I ran my game, I wouldn't say I gave shit away all the time, but I think that if you have to like give players a nugget, like a carrot, every so often you give them a reward of some kind, so that they want to like get the next thing, right? So I always gave out loot, and I didn't really put a lot of stock in gold. I would give that away, no problem. I mean, players often didn't get a chance to use it, and when the scale of the threat of things got high enough, having like 1,000, 10,000 gold, it's not really going to help you. So I didn't worry about that too much. But this guy was extremely, like, he thought that it should be a huge deal if you find, like, a +1 weapon. That should be, like, the biggest fucking deal. Like, that's, like, the Lady in the Lake and shit. So, when he said that, I started to wonder what I should play as if he's going to be treating treasure that way. You know, that would have been a good place for a monk, right? If you know that you're not going to get much. And, hold on, I'm just... Another thing that... So I said, okay, looks like the group needs a cleric. I was like, I could do that. The thing, because he was also going to be stingy when it comes to giving out new spells for wizards. It sounded like basically the people who are going to be penalized the most when you're running a game where the player's growth is partly dependent on what the game master puts in his setting or puts in his game to make available, then players are going to lean towards the character classes that depend less on that and that the system provides on its own. That's why you can't be too stingy, but you also can't be too liberal, because there are some classes that take advantage of the stuff that they get, and then there are some that don't need it, or at least that's how it was. So I first said, well, you know, I'd like to make a cleric for the game, and the game master told me that, you know, it'd be a great idea or whatever, and then he told me that what he might have me do, he had me pick a deity, and then he said, I think what you're going to have to do to get your spells is you're going to have to, like, you know, destroy something beautiful, like, every day or something like that, right? And I was like, so you're telling me, because normally when clerics get their spells, they get them like everybody else. Like, they rest and they get them. But my game master wanted me he added additional conditions for me to have access to the stuff that my character should just be able to do. So I said, so I have to, what happens if I don't find anything that's worth doing? Like, what if we're, you know, in a situation where I'm not able to do it? He's like, well, then you're not going to get any spells. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's no condition under which the fighters won't be able to fight. There's no conditions under which the rogues are not going to be able to hide. I mean, like, there are some, you know, cases, but they're still going to be have access to their abilities. So I'm literally just being penalized because you didn't provide something for me to use to get access to the stuff that I'm supposed to have. So I get what you're trying to do, but I don't think you see that this is not a great idea. So, yeah, maybe he did. He's probably a big fan of Fight Club. So here's what I decided. I thought it over, and I changed my mind. I was like, you know what? I don't want to make a cleric anymore. I want to make a druid. And I did that to get around what he was doing. And I mean, I'm not a munchkin player. You know, I don't get a lot of joy in doing that. But I felt like I had to, because I didn't want to, like, not have access to what I should be doing. Like, if you want to make the game challenging, this is what I say. If you want to make your game challenging, you can do it without nerfing everybody. If you nerf your players, they're not going to get as much enjoyment out of it. They want to feel powerful. Let them, is what I say. Let them feel powerful and make your enemies stronger. Just don't be unfair. You know? Nobody wants to feel like shit playing an RPG. So I made a druid instead. And because druids don't worship a deity, because I was like, well, you know, I asked him about druids. I was like, okay, well, how would an evil druid work? And you know, they don't have gods. It's like they're just nature people. And I was like, okay, well, we're gonna do that. So I got around his destroy something beautiful every day BS. And then on top of that, I made sure that my druid didn't even need weapons. Like, I had an animal companion. Is that right? Yeah, that's fine. I had an animal companion, and I was able to turn into one myself. And so I would just do that. I would just turn into a ape and just go ape shit on people and use my dire ape to do a lot of the work for me. So when he didn't give out and I had access to all my spells, because I didn't have to do any special shit, and because I was a druid and not a wizard, I didn't have to add things to my spell book. I had access to the entire list, you know, and he couldn't do anything about it. So I'm not sure how an evil druid would work. I would guess it's more of the way I played it is a philosophy of survival of the fittest, might makes right, you know, and maybe a selfish desire to enslave nature, I guess. Aren't druids forced to be true neutral? Not anymore. They haven't been since like the 3rd edition. I think they can be. They had to have neutral in their alignment, so they either had to be lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, neutral good, or neutral evil. So mine was neutral evil. And I was able to do my job as healer. So the lesson is, because my guy kicked ass. And the main reason was because I didn't depend on the game master. I was just doing my thing. So the lesson is, you know, don't penalize your players. Don't be afraid of your players. Let's put it that way. Because that was what it was coming from. He even admitted it. He's like, well, I don't want people, you know, munchkining my game and, like, breaking everything. And it's like, yeah, but you're breaking it to try to prevent it.
Wait,
And
what does munchkining mean?
It's min-maxing. That's like when, I call it min-maxing. Which is funny because Aiden said min-maxing when we were doing our stream on this. But, it's when you make, when players make characters specifically to take advantage of the rules system, and they're not interested in telling a good story. They just want to be the strongest, you know, like they just, I don't know, like do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
like, why munchkin?
Oh, I don't know why. I don't know what. I never heard. I mean, I heard of it because there was like a game called Munchkin that actually literally was made for people to do that, but I don't know why it's called that. Yeah, power gamer is another way of putting it. Yeah, we call them min-maxers, and we knew some that they, you know, basically what you had were characters with no personality, but really good stats. So you know, it was they're really really good at what they do, or they're so good at what they do they don't even need anybody else, which is often what the goal is for min-maxers, is that they actually want to be independent of the rest of the players. Like completely, like I can heal myself, I can hide, I have it all. I have the fighting, I got all of it, you know. And they don't really add to the fun. They often take away from it because of that. Because like, how can you play a game that encourages teamwork if there's someone who not only has no interest in the teamwork, but doesn't need to do the teamwork?
Yeah.
So, min-max, yeah. Legendary rules set normally have power gamers play them. Yeah, I don't do that. The legendary stuff. Yikes. Power gaming sounds boring. It is. I mean, I guess there's something to it for some people. They get into it, but I can't get into it, and that's just it. Like, I didn't want to do that in this game. I just wanted to play a game, but I didn't want to be like, you know, you don't want to like not have access to like why play a wizard if you don't have spells? Why? That's stupid.
Yeah, it seems unfair. Like, really.
Yeah, it does. And it actually encourages more min-maxing.
Yeah.
That was my whole point. When you try to do that stuff to avoid it, then you get players who don't want to do it that end up doing it. And that's the irony of it, really. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the staff. I'd probably just do that. Druids seem OP. I wouldn't. I don't think they are though. I think that they are if you're running a game where you're penalizing everybody, and then one guy comes up with this bright idea to be a druid. Like if I did a monk, just a straight up monk, it'd be the same shit. I'd be like the baddest character in the group, and the reason is because the game master is being so stingy with people's abilities, and also with the loot drops, that the guy who doesn't need either of those things is going to be more than successful. You actually have to like, I think, look at what the classes that are less dependent on the GM, how do they develop, and try to help the ones that are more dependent to develop in a proportionate way so that they're like moving along a similar path. If you want to keep everybody balanced. If you don't care about that, then, you know, don't. I do, personally. I think that I want to keep it to where the players are dependent on the other players to some degree, so that everyone's more encouraged to work together as a team. And when they do, it's actually really rewarding for them, you know? I would have done the same if I were you, Brian. I was mostly a GM, but I tended to be over-generous with rewards more than the other way around. Yeah, I've been accused of that. But whenever I overdid it, I just ramped up the enemies to balance it. And the players didn't know. So, you know, you just fudge things. Like and the thing is, the system is just there to help you, but you should not be a slave to it, you know, because the goal is to give the players a memorable gaming experience. I try to do that, and if I have to like bend the rules or break them to get there, as long as the players don't know that I've done it, and they almost never do, then it's fine. Like, they have a great time and I have a great time, and, you know, it's all is well. But I generally don't have to do that. But if I'm overly generous and I give people too much, then I just make the enemy stronger. I don't take away anything from them. I might maybe I can create a story plot that requires a sacrifice of some kind and let the players choose, you know, of an item if I think that I've overdone it. But I generally don't worry about that. I guess I'm not that overly generous, but it's enough. Keeps the players coming back, you know. Either they're coming back for, you know, hoping to find an item, in hoping to get like some kind of, you know, a backstory stuff settled, or to get a level, like if they're close to leveling up. Those things are really good ways to encourage players to keep coming back. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this staff, so I might come back to this later. Yeah. I remember I once roleplayed while getting drunk with a friend or so. So our decisions became wild, including jumping onto a kraken's mouth and robbing a bank. Was the bank inside the kraken's mouth?
Jojo, for fuck's sakes. Why can't you do that? You just had like one of those cat moments, you know?
Jojo?
Cat like
being a
is
dick.
gonna knock something off. Just like knocked off my paint
Yeah.
for no reason.
I'm gonna quit here in a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit soon too. I'm kind of tired of this.
Hmm.
Oh my god, it's like red. What the fuck? All you can find is red orange. Do you not have an orange? Orange?
Orange! Like our Cheeto president?
Yeah.
Never heard that joke before.
He's orange.
Still no YouTube ads. No, I'm not getting monetization at all. It's sad. Sad. Nah, but whilst in the bank, instead of using the doors, I decided to hammer my way through the floor like Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. I have not seen that in a while. I don't remember that scene. It's been years since I saw that Indiana Jones movie, but I have all three. What? Her, drumpf, yeah. Dotard, drumpf.
Yeah, they seriously don't have an orange. It's really weird. Don't you dare step on that, Jojo. Alright, I think I'm done. I need to find an orange.
Okay. I may not have one. Oh, you know what? You know that wooden case? That wooden suitcase looking thing? There's watercolors in there.
Yeah.
I bet there's an orange.
I mean, I guess I could just find a really red. Because I found a really yellow and just make my own.
You could. But then you'd have to make it again if you run out. And it's really hard to do that. Trying to have my cake and eat it too right now. Peterson's Q&A is going on, and I want to be right here. Why? Well, you can listen to Peterson and just mute me.
Oh, I bet you're hungry.
That's what this is about.
I get it now.
Oops.
I get it
Forgot to feed the bitch.
Alright, Jojo. You need to eat. You want to eat? Huh?
It's like I have to draw with like by turning. I'm looking at one computer screen, but I'm like leaning over to look at the other one. I gotta like get into this screen, because if I don't, then it looks really asymmetrical because of the angle. I gotta be unabashedly like focused on my shit, because I don't want that to happen. Oops. What the fuck am I doing? Okay. Trump breathed. Impeach. Impeach. What is it, babe? Something on your mind?
This isn't how I wanted to do this. Like looking at it and like, oh damn it. It's okay though. Let's see what happens. You never know what it's gonna look like until the end. The yellow that I use is like freaking neon. Which yellow is that?
If Trump gets a Nobel Peace Prize over Korea, I'm going to be snacking on popcorn as Twitter explodes. Can you impeach a god, Emperor? Wait a minute. Oh, yeah.
Don't do that.
It's like this.
Boop. Boop. What? What do you want?
Sorry, I was away watching anime. Did I miss the Infinity War discussion? No, I didn't end up talking about it because I think only one person saw the movie that's in here, and I don't want to spoil it.
Stop messing with my paint, man. Don't do it.
I mean, I wanna. I'm fucking chomping at the bit, but... Did you see it? I did mention how God of War is all about toxic masculinity now. I had a feeling, though, that that's what it was about. Can DCU films ever catch up to MCU films? No. They fucked up. They fucked up when they saw that Marvel was going to try the MCU stuff, and they didn't consider doing it then. And people laughed at them about it. Because I know that it's partly because the, like the Dark Knight trilogy was still, like, getting stroked for its genius. And I also think that in a way, like, DC doesn't have, like, a lot of faith in some of their other properties. At the time, it was like, if it's not Batman, then they didn't care. Beta Ray Bill movie confirmed. Oh. Wait, what are you serious? Don't fuck with my heart, man. I really want Beta Ray Bill.
What is that?
There's guys next door that are doing stuff. That's all. I wouldn't worry about it. What is it, babe? Are you quitting?
For now.
Okay. I'm gonna be quitting in a bit. Gotta do some housework. But I wanted to get a doodle in. And I also have to work on... We're doing a video on Thor Ragnarok. Gotta finish that. Do you want to make more coffee?
I don't know. I'm gonna go back to sleep.
The animu of Starship Troopers wasn't too bad. Animu. Thor Ragnarok was excellent. It was fun. I actually wasn't that thrilled with it at first.
What?
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh.
I wasn't that thrilled with it at first. I didn't like Valkyrie, and I thought that it told too many jokes.
You want some?
Not right now. Thanks, though. I thought there was too much humor in it. Darkseid versus Thanos, who wins? The audience. Fucking A. Whoa. Was that the dog?
Sometimes when he sits down, he farts.
Fucker.
Good boy.
I'd love an animu of Warhammer 40k. Huh. I love the Maori rock person. That was the director, Taika Waititi. He was the voice of Korg. You know, a lot of people like Korg. It was all right. Again, my main issue with it was there were too many jokes, but it grew on me. It grew on me. I mean, like, I'm okay with humor, but, you know, you gotta, like, if you do it too much, I think, you wear people down. And then they don't take anything in the movie seriously. I liked Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, that was good.
I liked Thor Ragnarok, though. It was good. We talked about it. Like I said, it grew on me over time. But at first, I was a little bit like, why are there so many jokes? Why isn't Thor, like, why does Thor feel like he's not the star of his own movie? And they're giving all this, like, screen time to Valkyrie and Hulk. But, you know, I bought it. That was when I first walked out of the theater. My initial impression. But, as when I got it on Blu-ray, because I was going to buy it anyways, because I wanted to get them all. I treat the Marvel movies like Pokemons, basically. I watched it again, and I was like, you know what? This is actually a fun movie. I thought it's all right. It's not bad at all. I'll raise up those cheekbones to about right there. Yeah, the dog farted. I love it if Gennady Tchaikovsky did a 40k series. Oh shit, that'd be amazing. Humor requires pacing and timing. Yeah, and you just can't like cram it full of jokes because it's you just can't cram it full of jokes. You want people to take some of the stuff seriously. Guardians did it really well. Guardians was full of jokes, but when Yondu died, that was a big deal. There was no, like, they didn't.
I almost feel like though, like if you watch Thor Ragnarok and then you watch the new one, it's like the all the fun is just killed instantly.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to
like,
spoil it, but yeah.
No, I know. But it's like emotionally, it builds you up. Like it's fun, and then.
Yeah, everything's good. Like we made it. Yay, Asgard is not a place. It's a people. And then Infinity War starts, and it's like, oh shit, what was all of this for? What was the point of any of this?
Because like Thor Ragnarok was so like easygoing, it almost made like Infinity War like that much more potent. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why they do it.
Maybe the Russos are just that fucking good at what they do.
Maybe they're geniuses.
Those guys are amazing. Right up here, I think. Watch out for those spoilers. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it. Just if you're invested, watch the movie. But you have to watch everything else. That's one of the things that is really hard about selling all this to people. Is like you literally have to watch every Marvel movie if you really want to understand every reference that's made. And there's a lot of references made to past films in Infinity War. A lot.
I don't know. Maybe I want to keep working on this.
No, it's up to you.
And you're wrong. You don't have to make orange perfect. It's watercolor. It'll fucking blur anyway.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm wrong then.
You're wrong.
Wrong. Jojo, just stop.
He's like nudging you with his bone. Like, it's not a good time.
What? Some Marvel movies are standalones, but this one isn't. Yeah. Thanos looks like a gorilla. I'm drawing the way he looked in the comics. It's a little bit different from the way he looked in the films. But the film's pretty fucking close. I may like lower his shoulders a bit. I was gonna have him like kind of hunching, but I think I'm probably not gonna do that. He will be if Doge draws him asymmetrically.
Jojo, leave me alone, would you? What are you doing?
It's a fucking dog.
I need to find my phone. I shouldn't do the boss.
Is my guerrilla asymmetric warfare? Yeah, that might be too meta. Harambe returns. There we go. We'll see how MCU handles Captain Marvel. Mary Sue's to the rescue. Yeah, I'm worried about that too. Careful though, you're getting into some spoiler territory. But the according to interviews, Captain Marvel is supposed to be the most powerful MCU character. So let's hope they don't Mary Sue her up. Because it doesn't even matter if she's the most powerful if she's the least interesting. I think Star Wars already kind of warned us about that. Scarlet Witch is more powerful than Captain Marvel. Well, according to the interviews, they said Captain Marvel is the most powerful. The worst part of The Last Jedi for me was the Fleet Admiral gender studies. Yeah. It's just... there's so much wrong with that movie. I watched it. My friend brought it over because I didn't watch it. I didn't want to. And my friend brought it over and we watched it. It was fucking painful. I barely got through it. I was like, man, this is the worst Star Wars movie I've seen yet. I'm sorry, but it's worse than Phantom Menace. It's bad. Say what you want about Phantom Menace, but at least little kids liked it. This was soulless trash. But, you know, what are you going to do?
I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
I don't think that looks bad. Looks good.
No, I'm complaining because, like, I'm like using my phone and it turns off like 5 seconds. It's like, what are you doing? Just change the settings, but I'm not doing it. I'm not changing it. Just annoying myself.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. No, I don't blame Daisy Ridley. Although Daisy Ridley was like asked in an interview, I don't know if you saw it, about Ray being a Mary Sue, and Daisy Ridley didn't even know what a Mary Sue was, but they asked her to respond to the fans. It was so bad. It was bad. It's like, just leave her alone. No, when you criticize Ray, you're not criticizing Daisy Ridley. You're criticizing the writers. Don't deflect. Character's only as good as she is written. Yeah. I mean, she had shit to work with. The dude who played Ben Swallow, he also, I forget his name, Adam Driver. You know, he's not a bad actor. I saw him in Silence, a movie by Martin Scorsese about the monks that traveled to Japan. He was good in that. He just had shit to work with. He had to act like an angsty teenager. The Napoleon Dynamite of Jedi Sith Lords.
Oh yeah, that is the same guy, eh?
Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah, thanks. Again, it's not his fault. It's just she's working with shit. J.J. Abrams shit. I mean, what's his name? The guy who played Spock in the new Star Trek movies. He's a good actor. But that didn't stop them from doing a scene with, like, the Enterprise flying away from a swarm of robot drones or whatever with Beastie Boys playing in the background. It didn't stop that from happening. How are you going to be known as the guy? J.J. Abrams is the guy who effectively fucked with 2 science fiction franchises and pissed off fan bases on both sides. That's what you're known for. Guess we should have stuck with Alias. J.J. Abrams wasn't that bad. He's okay. Who runs Star Wars? Well, J.J. Abrams did the first one, The Force Awakens. And then, what's his name? Ryan Johnson did the second one. I would say that Ryan Johnson did worse than J.J. Abrams, to be honest. Who runs Star Wars? Are you talking about the producer chick? The Force is female? Broad? Yeah, you could say that. But at the end of the day, like, Ryan Johnson is the one that said, yes, we're going to do this. I mean, if he had another vision, he could have stuck with it. I don't know. She's the one behind that. I'm sick and I want to die. The Force Awakens was okay. I wasn't really a fan. JJ was the Jew they need to crucify. No one wanted to direct Star Wars or Star Trek. I guess so. And I reckoned if J.J. Abrams did The Last Jedi, it'd have been fairly decent. Well, I would have been... I honestly do believe that if J.J. Abrams got to do The Last Jedi, he would have been able to at least continue his narrative, because Rian Johnson just took what J.J. Abrams had built up and tossed it out. He just tossed it out. Snoke, you know, the Luke, like all that stuff. He just said, "Fuck it. I don't want to do any of this." That's, sorry, but no. I don't know if that's egos or what. All right, let me see how that looks. Yeah, it's fine. I reckon, I mean, there were some threads to pull on. There was plenty of stuff that he set up in The Force Awakens. I mean, Rey's parents being nobody, Snoke being nobody, Luke being nobody, Chewbacca being turned into nobody. The ball was dropped multiple times. Yeah, and I think JJ had a plan. So now at this point, I got to be honest with you. I hope that the third movie is worse than the other two, and then they never touch Star Wars again, because this is like just a travesty, and I think it should be remembered as such. I don't want them to redeem it. I want it to be over. I just want the pain to end. I am not kidding. I have no fucks. Yeah, Luke left the map but didn't want to be found. I mean, come on. There's so much. Have you seen Mauler's video series on this? It's here I'll write how it's spelled. It's like Mauler or something like that. I'm not sure how if it's spelled like right. Ler. Anyway, you should look up. I may have done this wrong, but basically it's got like some capitalization in the word. But his name is Mauler, and he does like really long form videos where he talks about games and movies. And he did, and Teal Deer likes him. That's actually how I heard about him. But it turned out that I actually had seen one of his videos, and he made a 3-part series on The Last Jedi, and he like breaks it down, like he goes through it in extensive details. It's 3 videos, each one is an hour and a half, so you're watching like 4.5 hours, but it's worth it. He also has, for his gaming part, this one might be like too long, but he makes a response video to H Bomber Guy. You guys know who H Bomber Guy is? If you don't know, he was the guy who was in the questions SJWs have for anti-SJWs or something like that. And he's like, what is it with you people and skulls? That guy? And he responds to him as H Bomber Guy makes a super snarky, passive-aggressive defense of the game Dark Souls 2 in a video. And Mauler does a 8-part fucking series of videos responding to H Bomber Guy's video. It's long, but it's just fascinating. Like, I had to watch it because I was like, man, this guy made an 8-part fucking video series. I have to see what the fuss is about. Rags has said all I need to say about it. Okay. I think JJ had knew that they were setting him up for failure. Mauler also has a great video on Black Panther, and it's just one video. And another like short video on The Last Jedi. It's like 30 minutes or something. Anyway, so I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks for hanging out. And in the future, I think I'm gonna, based on this drawing of Thanos, I think I'm gonna lean in and like get more into, instead of trying to draw it like kind of diagonally, which is what I've been doing, I'm gonna try and lean into the artwork more. But yeah, thanks for joining us on, I guess, the Doge of Venice stream. And I will probably try to do something next weekend, maybe. I have a busy weekend ahead of me, so. Muller's response to H. Bomber Cuck was more like a slow torture. His video was good, but it is long. So, all right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good weekend.